Hey, the Circle of Hope pastors are here. Someone asked, is the video series that we do once a week where we actually answer people's questions. People have questions, and we try to answer them. It's an organic thing. If you have a question, send it to us. We'll get to it. The question today. What's the question today? I can't remember the exact language.
Why should I do the right thing if Jesus is going to love me anyway?
Why should I do the right thing if Jesus is going to love me anyway? What gives?
Well,
Well,
let's
You guys
start
want
with
to talk about
grace.
this or what?
if you're caught in that kind of thinking about consequences, about like, if I violate my integrity this much, what is the consequence going to be worse or something? You know, doing that kind of math, it's problematic for your own health. So I think that even letting God touch your heart to the point where doing the right thing is a result of the redemption story in your whole being. So it's a overflow of God's love.
It's a great point,
Jesus gets us off the hook of this kind of consequence thinking. Like, but that pull towards punishment as a way of being. You know, our whole culture is ruled by punishment, and it seems to make sense to most humans. So to do something else is really hard to get off of that hook, even if we're the ones putting ourselves on it.
Yeah, that's really centered around like what yourself, but God compels us to care about how those around us, how we live affects other people. So it's not just about like weighing how it's going to affect you, but being compelled by God to be a person in the world that like matters.
Yeah, totally.
I think sometimes we can, I'm just thinking about how hard those moments are of cognitive dissonance when we feel like divided against ourselves. Sometimes we can just make a decision to just move with Jesus and put on the new self and go with it. And I think we normally feel better. We normally feel like our truer selves then too.
Yeah, there's something deep down inside of us that, like, when we talk about the true self, it sometimes sounds like over spiritual, but it actually, when you find yourself feeling it a little bit, it feels a lot like who you've always been. You know,
There's
so like,
freedom.
yeah, it's like acting out of your most core self. So like what you're talking about, Joshua, with like not acting out of fear of consequence, you know, moving with your truest authenticity. Jesus is actually planting that in us, and so it's not about doing what's right. It's about doing what's most like him and me together, I guess. Like, what are we doing the best? You know.
You know, this opportunity that we have to do right in the world is the result of the radical grace of Jesus, which does not condemn us. So we're not doing the right thing to not be condemned. And this is a basic idea throughout the New Testament. The New Testament writers, and Paul specifically, will talk about things like being saved by grace. That's God, not by the things you do, not by following the law. However, it's amazing to me that despite that theology, we still have Christians that are condemning us for all the little things that we don't do because, for whatever reason, they've just reappropriated the law. Meanwhile, they've neglected the poor, you know, which is one of the main things Jesus calls us to do. So it's an amazing condemnation stays and good works somehow are also gone. How did you create such a bad religion?
Mm-hmm.
And to get in touch with the unconditional love of God is to, I think that I'm just trying to say what you're saying a little more condensed. To receive that unconditional love, it's really different than punitive justice. It's really different than this love that most of our caregivers probably tried to give, but you know, fall short, just like we do in our relationships. Who want to love without condition, and it's really difficult. We're limited.
And I think people do want to do good things. I think they're just tired of being ashamed and condemned when they don't. And so why should I even try? There's some anxiety about never getting it right, never being pure enough, ideologically or ethically. No, and you won't be, but that won't save you anyway.
Good point.
Yeah, it also points to the fact that we need each other to be our best selves, to be the people that we aspire to be in Christ. We need one another.
You think we're getting somewhere? Anything you want to add more?
It stinks to be ruled by guilt. Let's be done with that.
Yeah. Get the guilt out and be free to go and do good and fail and fall short. You know, we have a community that's trying to do this together. And no, Jesus saved us already, so you're free to go and try and free from your shame. How's that?
Sounds great.
Cool. Well, thanks for giving this a shot, pastors. Glad we did it. If you liked it, share it around. Share it with people that you think need to hear something like this. And if you have questions, questions that you have or questions that you've heard, or even questions that you imagine someone might have, we'll be glad to answer them. See you around.